So today we'll be watching 20 people confronting a billionaire. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be very, very, very exciting. Give you my thoughts during and after the video.
Today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today and I'm struggling. I got bills, man.
Morgan, the founder of Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. And according to Forbes, I'm a billionaire. Ask me anything.
My first question is, how much are you currently worth, and how did you amass that amount of money?
I'm a lawyer. I went to law school and became a lawyer, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I built and operate a chain of attractions across America. I have Marriott hotels across America. I built shopping centers. The big part of my wealth has been generated by my law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Well, I don't know exactly how much I'm worth. I used to tell my kids when they were little, when their friends would ask them, are we rich or not? I said, the answer is this: we're comfortable.
What do you mean comfortable? Like, you definitely have way more than just being comfortable. You live a luxury life.
Do you call being worth $1 billion comfortable?
That's a good
You
question.
don't feel like it because you don't spend it. When you grow up a certain way.
So I guess they're trying to figure out what's the meaning of comfortability, which is like if I was a billionaire and I had kids, I would go ahead and teach them probably the same thing. You can't let your kids make it seem like they're rich, because after that they just become very, very, very they don't get connected with reality. If that makes sense. So I like how he worded that, and he worded that. I like that. So let's continue the video.
It's not like it's changed much of my life. I'm in the same house. I don't spend the money that you would think I'd spend. It's odd because you have all this money in the bank, but it doesn't really change what you do day to day.
My question for you is, what stops you from using your wealth to change somebody's life?
Nothing. Listen, I live 3 places. I live in Florida, I live in Maui, Hawaii, and I live in New Hampshire. But I've taken my wealth and done certain things. Like in Florida where I live, I ran a constitutional amendment twice to legalize medical marijuana. I lost the first time, but I won the second time with 72% of the vote. I believe that income inequality is the #1 issue facing America today. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And every day the gulf is getting wider. So what did I do? I ran a constitutional amendment. I spent tens of millions of dollars to raise the minimum wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour in Florida. That's a doubling of the minimum wage. So I take that money that I make, and I've run those constitutional amendments, and I've put money into food banks and coalition for the homeless, and it goes on and on. And I will tell you this, not to pat me on the back too much about it, because I don't really feel it. I don't really feel it. I was at lunch the other day, and this woman walks up to me. She says, John, I just want to thank you and your wife for the donation you made to iDignity. I didn't know what iDignity was. I said, how much do we give? She said, $500,000. It turns out that my wife had given the money. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if you want money, call my wife. iDignity is a place for the poorest of the poor to get identification, because more and more in this country, you need to have an identification just to get food stamps. I believe when you make this kind of money, you have an obligation to give it back. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt you. You can look at me and know I'm not missing too many meals. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
So I'm going to try to rephrase it. What stopped?
I would say he's very charming. I mean, like, the answer that he's given is very very lawyer for sure, but he's very charming. And then this I don't remember his name, but look, I'm gonna go ahead and play the video. But I think
you from getting out that car at the moment where you and your son, you seen the homeless person. What stopped you from changing that person's life?
Well, I do get out of the car from sometimes. When I pull up to a stoplight and there's somebody out there begging for food, even if they look like they've been eating donuts for the last 10 years, I give them money because I'm not going to judge them. I look at them this way. They're out there on the street in the heat. I don't know what they're doing out there, but you know what? It's not my job to judge.
I feel like a lot of billionaires, they say the same thing. They say they do donate and they do give to people. You give to organizations and large conglomerates that take your money and they break it up and they throw it around. If you're not handing something down to help somebody who really needs it, what does it matter?
You're in the law field, and
I mean, he got a point there. I think they're doing it for tax reason and things like that, which is understandable. But also, I will talk to that young man and just tell him that, hey, you can't have handouts. Does that make any sense? You teach a man how to fish, and he'll fish for the rest of his life. You just feed him the fish, and the next time he wants you to feed him the fish. What I would say to this young man, go ahead, learn a new lesson. Learn a new skill that will go ahead and put you in a situation to where you don't have to work that much. Nobody gonna hand you out. Nobody gonna give you, that's how it is. Especially when certain people there are either millionaires or billionaires or becoming that. When you go to them and you go ahead and ask them just for handout, there's a whole bunch of more people that are asking for handout from them. And if you just one of those people, they got there not giving, they didn't get there just to give out money. You know what I'm saying? They had to save money or do whatever they needed to do to get there. So for you to just come in and asking for, handout, instead of you learning new skill, or ask them, not just, giving you something, how about you ask them what kind of skill would he looking for, or what kind of, how did he get there? Which is, he explained that he was a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure, the real estate, and things like that helped him out too. But, I'm just saying, don't do that. That's just a turnoff for any millionaire, any billionaire. Don't ask for handouts. Ask them how you got there. Have questions that will show that you're interested in, changing your life, or not by handout. Because he might give you the money, you don't know what to do with it, you blow it out, that's it. It's not gonna work.
that's how you've amassed your network and everything that you've earned. If you had to start over in a different industry, what would you be in order to become a billionaire again?
I don't even know
See,
how
that's
it
a
happened
good
in the
question
first
right
place.
there. That's a good question. Like I said, ask something like that, and that is very, very acceptable question. Instead of just, well, I want some handout. I've been working. Everybody been working. I've been paying bills. Everybody's struggling. The economy is not great.
So it's like keep waiting to wake up, and it was all a dream. Like, how did this happen? Listen, here's my problem. I suck in math and I suck in science, so there's not many jobs left for me after that. But my gut tells me I want to go to Wall Street and make deals like that. But what I would probably do is stay in the attraction business that I'm in. I love that business because there's no fighting. And I did it as a hobby. I've always thought what I could have done with my attraction and amusement business if I'd had it full time instead of, it was more like collecting stamps than anything, to tell you the truth.
So you made some comments about liking capitalism and how much legislation you did for raising the minimum wage for $15 an hour here in Florida. Is there anyone at your law firm or your multiple businesses that you're paying less than $15 an hour now?
No. And I wasn't paying less then because I believe that a living wage is a civil right. I also believe that retaining employees with a living wage and bonuses, it's good for business. I believe by paying more to my employees, I keep them, attrition is lower, and believe it or not, although it sounds backwards, I believe by paying more, I make more because I keep people, and my people are really all I have.
So in your opinion,
He got a good point. Like he like I said, he's a lawyer, so his mouth is very smart. um, but he does have a good point. That the fact that he paying his employer more even before things in Florida weren't you weren't supposed to get paid 15, but he makes sure that his employee get paid enough to where they are living comfortable. Especially in Florida, that's hard, but like he's a lawyer.
And why aren't other billionaires doing the same thing that you're doing?
Well, I think some are and some aren't. A lot of people have to. Like, once I raised the minimum wage here in Florida, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Universal raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I kind of took credit for that. At a certain point, when wages start to rise, businesses have to respond, because if Universal's paying $15, then Disney's got to pay $15, because who cares if you're running Small World or Harry Potter? You're looking for a job.
So you mentioned a little bit how you've put money into politics and things like that, and in the current political climate in the United States, our government's run by the billionaires, kind of for the billionaires. What do you think the moral role of a billionaire should be within the United States government?
By and large, the opposite of what it is. These fat cats got so much money, but they want the tax laws to benefit them. Like, these hedge fund people don't even pay taxes. And so the billionaires are not satisfied with what they have. They want more and more and more and more. And what my worry is, this income inequality, at some point there's a breaking point. At some point you can become Cuba. And what I would say to these billionaires, you're going to make this gulf so big and so vast just because you don't think it could ever happen in America. Just remember January 6th. Just remember them storming the Capitol. Those were the barbarians at the gate, and they were mad as hell. And you know what they're mad about? They were mad because they think they're going to fall further and further behind. They weren't mad, and they thought Donald Trump was the one that could do it for them. But that's why they stormed the Capitol. And when I saw it, I said, that could be our future if we let the haves and the have-nots get so separated.
I think everybody knows.
He have a good point. Like, so you know how inflation now, because you have inflation. You have, I mean, we went through a recession, shrinkflation. Man, all this stuff is like, if into some point, if the rich keep getting richer, we do not have unlimited resources. Okay. Something going to happen. We need to be very careful. If the rich people get richer and the poor people getting poorer, and you're crashing the middle class is being crushed, then it's unfair. Like I said, and this is how it is. It's like a Leviathan just swallowing all the resource. The Fed keep printing money. The system going to collapse sooner or later. The fact that he pointed that out, that's because a lot of billionaires and millionaires don't think like that, especially billionaires. They just think grab, real estate, this, that, grab all the resources, it's all yours. But to some point, if a person come home and they can't provide for their family or their loved ones, no. It's not right.
That probably every single billionaire does evade taxes, and he did say that he wants billionaires to be taxed so high, but I can promise you he probably has found ways to evade taxes.
Back in around like 1940s, the tax rate was around like 90s, higher than 90%, right? Would you be somebody that would advocate to bring back such a high tax rate in order to redistribute the wealth?
I don't know about 90% because you got to have some motivation. Listen, I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. But I also believe we have to do the most for the most with least.
So when you mention capitalism, right? Capitalism is kind of inherently parasitical, right? You're going to always take more from the workers. You're going to put a profit on their labor that they're putting into the business. And I think now we're seeing that capitalism inherently causes these income inequalities. So I think we need to expand those social safety nets. We need to increase taxes on the wealthy in order to allow the poor to enjoy, the things that maybe you enjoyed when you were younger and things like that.
Well, look, I agree with you, and I think it's really for these people who are so rich, they're going to lose it one way or the other if they don't. Because look, the thing about you got socialism and capitalism. Socialism on paper makes a lot of sense, but then you got to count on everybody working. Will they all work? But in the short run, what we're seeing right now with this big, beautiful bill that they're talking about, we're talking about cutting all sorts of benefits to give more money to the rich and dig our country into trillions of more long-term debt. And I look at it and I scratch my head. The rich should be taxed bigger and harder. And so the reason I'm more for capitalism is because if you go to a socialistic country like France.
France is not socialist.
France is not?
No. You look at, let's say China. We'll give China for example.
China's not. China's communism. I've been to China.
China's not communist.
Huh?
China's not communist. They're run by the Chinese Communist Party, but they're not.
What are they?
They're a socialist country.
Socialist?
Yes. And you look at their infrastructure, you look at
I've been to
their
China.
wealth inequality, and it's actually, pretty good.
Have you ever been to China?
Have I? No.
Let me tell you something. It is the most oppressed country.
No. No. China is not oppressed. Look at China. China is the greatest thing.
Coming
You
from
need to go to China and watch the people with their heads down.
This is a completely different China we're talking about. I'm
not China today.
I'm talking, yeah, if we're talking about China today, then no.
So then you have drank the wrong Kool-Aid.
I was like, oh.
Oh man, you can never bet. You can't win against a lawyer that made. He's a billionaire from, of course, other things, but arguing, you can't win. I would say people just do your research before you go ahead and bring certain things. Now, when it comes to the capitalism thing, like I said before, that hey, yeah, capitalism, but to a certain point, like, you have a whole bunch of loophole that people take, so it's like, for example, let's just take a stock market, right? You bought a certain stock, it went up, you become a millionaire or billionaire. You don't have to withdraw that. You go to the bank and you tell them, hey, I want to borrow money. Your leverage is your stock. You say, hey, I haven't sold it. I'm not going to sell it due to this tax code or due to tax where I can't sell it for a year or two, whatever it is, the less tax I pay, or I don't even have to sell it. But yeah, I can get all this money borrowed from the bank because I'm using my leverage. So it's like, you have to, I don't know how I can explain to this, you have to go ahead and get ahead. Like, eat noodles, do whatever you need to do. You need to go, especially at these times. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the only Asian person in the room, so it's like so weird to see somebody kind of like debate about a country that my mom is from. I would have to agree with John more in terms of like China being a communist country.
John, I'm a parent, and one of the challenges I have is making sure that my mindset is not my children's mindset. How do you overcome that challenge as a billionaire to make sure your children have their own mindsets?
That's hard to do because they live with you and they hear you. The interesting thing about life is you get older, you start listening to your children, you're like, they're stealing all my shit. I said that. I did that. But what I used to tell them is this: when you're watching me, take the good parts and leave the bad parts. And the thing I used to tell my kids is the only thing that I want you to be, I don't care what you are other than this, I want you to be a compassionate human being. I want you to put other people first. And that's the only mindset that I wanted them to take. And I think that they have done that.
One of my goals, I think, is to make my kids better than me. What's your main challenge that you see as a billionaire making your kids better than you?
The main challenge is that your children do not feel entitled. There's nothing worse than an entitled person,
brat.
somebody who was born with a silver spoon stuck up their butt, and they become the worst person in the world. I never bought my kids nice cars because I knew they were going to be dinged. And you have to make your kids work. You have to have consequences that are consistent. But the main thing you have to do, if I was giving advice as a parent, you got to spend a whole lot of time. It's all about the time. And remember this, your child is one friend away from total disaster. And when you see that friend, you got to separate that friend as hard as it is.
So you just mentioned that when you have a child who is having a friend that you find them to be not good for them, essentially, that you have to do what you can to separate them. As a billionaire, what does that entail for you?
Well, you can only do so much. I mean, I've only separated 2 friends in all the years. And one was a kid who used to come over and, he just reeked of marijuana and he was stoned and I just had a bad vibe. And I said, look, so-and-so, you can't go over there and he can't come over here. My son Matthew was enraged. You can't tell me who's going to be my friend. I said,
Which is, it's kind of surprising that he actually did that, because as the video started, he was talking about how, he helped, he brought either bill or something to help with the marijuana stuff to make it legal, So I'm just confused. Is it like he's okay with marijuana when it comes to a certain age, or he just don't want his kids to do it? That's kind of, maybe it's due to certain age, because he said medical marijuana he's okay with, but he's not okay with his kids hanging out with, their friends that were doing marijuana. So that's kind of interesting, how he became, how he changed, or either he changed or it depends what kind of age you are, or maybe because, it's his kid,
I'm telling you, you can't go there and they can't come here. But you can't stop them at school. You can't stop them at a certain point. Later in life, I was justified because that kid that I was worried about ended up in prison.
I'm someone who works with youth in Orlando. I spend every moment of my days to coach and develop the youth in Orlando. And I work with at-risk youth. And one of the biggest things that I have seen in Orlando is that since medical marijuana was passed as a bill in Florida, marijuana use has become normalized among the youth and those that are underaged. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you didn't allow your son to be friends with someone who smoked pot because he smelled loud and he smoked weed.
Yeah, that was the point that I was trying to make.
Why would you advocate for a bill like that to be passed when you kicked someone out of your family's circle who was smoking weed themselves?
When my brother was paralyzed, they had him on Percocet, Xanax, and everything else. The only thing that gave him relief, immediate relief, was marijuana. Listen, I believe that marijuana use at an early age fries the mind. I drug tested my children a lot, and my son Matthew failed that drug test a lot. But here's the difference. Would I rather have my brother taking marijuana gummy or opioids, fentanyl? It's a no-brainer. So I don't think marijuana use is on the rise. Let me tell you something. If you want marijuana today, go to any middle school in America. Yep. And we'll have a nickel bag real fast. Yeah.
So do you feel that there's an ethical gray area when it comes to use of marijuana or other drugs in the youth or in adults in our country? And do you think that that leads to potentially a ethical gray area for you?
I mean, I wouldn't say
relates to other things in your life.
Marijuana is a drug. I mean, I guess to some people, but it's a plant.
Medical marijuana, no way. Because listen, where I think the unethical conduct is coming from is from the pharmaceutical industry. Marijuana is a plant that was put into earth by God or by nature, and it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know how aloe works, but when you rub aloe on sunscreen, it goes away. So I feel very good, morally, ethically, every single way about.
Like I said, he's a lawyer. He does argue for his life. I mean, not for his life, for career. He argues. So that man, he have more charismatic than the whole 20 people were asking questions.
What I did
funny.
with
He's
medical
funny.
marijuana, and here's the proof in the pudding. 1 million people in Florida have a card, and guess who uses it mostly? People 65 and older. Go to the marijuana stores, look at the marijuana stores, look who's going in. It ain't kids, it's me.
Yeah, so I'm still really confused about the marijuana thing. I feel like with a lot of billionaires, they do want to care for people, but they really don't want them around them. So that's what I feel that you feel with the marijuana. You're fine with people growing it, you're fine with people doing whatever. But right when it's in your house, you don't really care about the person. You want them not around you or your family.
I take a gummy every night. It's in my house
Then why did you kick the person out of your house?
He was a kid who I thought was not just the reek of marijuana. He was a kid who I thought was bad news. I didn't think that he was smoking marijuana. I thought he was selling marijuana. Look, I think all of Matthew's friends smoke marijuana. And so that wasn't the issue. The issue was this guy might be a criminal. This guy is a bad influence. So don't take it the wrong way.
Okay, so you kind of briefly talked on like for-profit CEOs and things like that. I was just kind of hoping to hear your take on the current state of, healthcare and what recently occurred with their CEO.
Before I answer that question, I want to go back to the coach's question about marijuana, just so everybody understands where I stand. If John Morgan was king, I'd legalize marijuana all over the country, and I'd let you grow it at your house. So that's how I feel about marijuana. As far as the healthcare, think about this for a minute. There's only one place that we go ever, and we never ask what it costs. When you go to get your hair cut, what's the cost? When you go to buy a candy bar, what's the cost? When you walk into a hospital, none of us ever ask what it's going to cost. You can get a Tylenol pill over here for $20. It could be $1 at the other hospital. The of the insurance industry by healthcare is awful. It's off the charts. Our pharmaceuticals in this country are way more money than pharmaceuticals in his favorite country, China. And so you've got to get healthcare where we don't ask what things cost.
He's throwing
And then you got
shades.
insurance companies who are fighting healthcare.
He's throwing shades over.
And they're trying to gouge. The hospitals are trying to gouge. The insurance companies are trying to not be gouged. They're fighting. And guess who's stuck in the middle? The person who needs treatment, the person who has cancer. And they're saying, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And then what happens? People go postal. People snap.
So would you be in favor then of a socialized form of healthcare in the United States?
I don't know how it will work. Listen,
Every other major country has a socialized form of healthcare.
when Obama was president, he came to my house as president. I supported Obama. I'm on the National Finance Committee for Obama. And one of the things that I really liked about Obama was Obamacare. A lot of people lost their House seats for voting for Obamacare. So, listen, I'm all ears about anything we can do to get more medicine and more treatment to people. My brother-in-law is a physician up in Haines City, Florida. I have a clinic called the Morgan & Morgan Clinic.
Honestly, like, the insurance and the pharmaceutical are so broken. Because you be having insurance thinking like, hey, you're going to pay this much for this much. Out of nowhere, now you have copays. You have this and that. Like, let's say you were in Medicare or Medicaid. But you also have work insurance. So what happened is your work insurance kicks in first. So now you gotta pay copay. You have to pay, this and that and the medicine, and if you're doing surgery, certain percentage that you gotta pay. So like, it is broken. It is broken. It is expensive. People are losing houses. They're losing this. They're losing that. And it shouldn't be. It should not be. That's the truth. It should have not. And I've seen that on my own 2 eyes. In fact, I experienced it. And it is...
He runs it, I fund it, and we take care of everybody who has lost in the system who can't get care.
How do you deal with profiting over other people's injuries in your law firm?
Every business is in business to make a profit. If you don't have a profit, you don't have a business. On the other side of me and on the other side of my clients are insurance companies. Insurance companies do this. They take in premiums and they try not to pay claims. When they try not to pay claims fairly, that's when I'm hired. When I'm hired, the people who are hiring me cannot afford a lawyer by the hour. And the insurance industry, they live in this world. Deny, delay, defend. Their job is to never be fair with you. The people who come to me at their time of need are people who've had something taken from them. The business I'm in is being the key to the courthouse for people who can't afford it, taking all of the risk. And believe me, I've lost some cases where I've written off millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, the only thing between me and them getting a fair shake from the insurance industry is what we do, which is take them to trial. So I never even realized it could be this lucrative until I got in it. But I've also scaled it in such a way that most personal injury firms are like, one-trick ponies in one city. I built mine throughout the entire United States, and by having the scale that I have, my profit got a lot bigger.
You have mentioned before that you make money off of people's injuries and stuff like that. Do you think it's ethical to, I don't want to say take advantage of people, but take advantage of people when they're most vulnerable?
I think what I do is,
I don't think he takes advantage of the people that. So let's just say a doctor is hoping for you to get sick, so you can go to him, and a policeman is hoping that you're some kind of criminal, so lock you up. They meet their quarter. So everything is like they need a person to be either like not a victim, but like a victim. And then for his case, he's actually in a good field to where he helped people to, he helps people out. Like he said before that they ain't gotta pay him anything up front and all this other stuff. So, I mean, some crazy shit. Some crazy shit.
highly ethical. I think that the insurance industry is very unethical. I believe that I'm the difference between people getting back what was taken from them and relying on the insurance company. I believe that what I do is almost, not quite, like a ministry, because people come to me in their most desperate hour, whether they've lost their home, lost a life, lost a limb, lost livelihood, and they have no way to fight back. So I can tell you this, I sleep very well with what I do and why I do it, because I am the civil police representing the people who cannot have a voice for themselves. I got into this business because my brother Tim was paralyzed, so I got to see what it's like to be on the other side. I got to see what it's like to be the poor person that's being oppressed. And I'll tell you what, it is the worst feeling in the whole world to be hopeless, powerless, helpless. And when you get to step in and even the playing field and say, hey, that ain't gonna happen. And when they try to give you peanuts, we're like, we're not taking peanuts. When I walk into my lobbies throughout America, when I see those clients sitting there, I see my brother, I see my family, and I want to treat them exactly the way I would have wanted to be treated.
Do you believe most billionaires and lawyers are compassionate?
I like how he say that and how he words that. For example, let's just say you're middle. I don't even think I'm middle, but let's say you're middle, poor to middle. And if you think that the government will come help you, you need to change all that. Or even if you think that man like him will come help you, if they do, yeah, that's fine. But you need to change your whole mindset. No one is here to, nobody gonna be there to be your Superman. So get it going, and start working.
I think it all depends on the person. I believe what's helped me in my life was I came from a very difficult childhood with a lot of economic insecurity and alcoholism. Everything bad that you could think happened did happen. But the good thing about those things, if you take it the right way, is those things can generate later in life serious compassion on your part. Whenever I would see somebody homeless, I used to tell my children, just remember this, they don't want to be there. And once upon a time, that was a little girl and a little boy eating an ice cream cone, swinging, having the time of their life. And they don't want to be there. and don't judge them because we don't know how they got there.
John, how do you care for your clients when you're done with them? I know your motto is for the people, but it seems like it's only for the client. Up until a certain point, the award is won, the case is closed. How do you take care of your people after you're done with them?
Here's how I take care of the people. I change conduct. I just got a big verdict against Takata airbags down in Miami a few weeks ago. I can promise you this, because of my cases, Takata is changing their conduct. I'm one of the lawyers on the opioid cases. These pharmaceutical companies were killing us. That's not happening anymore. I have cases against the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry is in the business of premeditated murder. These are evil, evil, evil companies. And so for the people, not my clients, the people who I'll never represent, the people who will never know me, I'm changing conduct.
My question to you, throughout law school, I heard a lot that lawyers are the reason why insurance costs so much and is expensive. So what is your take on that?
Well, you heard that from the insurance industry. There's been tort reform after tort reform all across America. And you know why they have this, what's called tort reform, to take away your rights, my rights, their rights. They say, we're going to take certain rights away from you and your rates are going to go down. But here's what's never happened. They've never tied one of those bills to a mandatory decrease of insurance premiums. These insurance companies take premiums in, they make bad investments, and then they say, oh, the lawyers are causing us to make bad investments. No, the lawyers aren't the problem. The insurance companies who run their companies poorly are the problem, and they just want bigger profits. And by the way, when you go home, Google their profits. Google what their CEOs are making. They're not hurting. They're making a lot of money.
If you lost all of your wealth tomorrow, what would be your next step in this struggling economy? Do you think you could pull it off? Do you think you could be just as successful?
I think if I did this again, I would not be this successful. This has been
He would not be that successful, but he would be successful. So that's, I don't know. Does he have the same knowledge? Does he keep the same knowledge? Does he have the same, chance, same age? And there's a whole lot more things into it. Does he keep the same contact? Like, 'cause, your network is your net worth. So it's a whole lot more than just asking that question.
Series of left turns and right turns, and all of a sudden you end up here. I'm not arrogant enough. I believe that 99% of what's happened to me is luck or blessings or whatever you want to call it.
I'm a pastor, and one of the core tenets of many faith systems in the world is a rejection of possessions and wealth. Do you feel like you had to sacrifice part of yourself or your faith or your family to be able to get where you are today?
Not at all, because my faith has been at the forefront of everything I've done. It's the teachings from my faith guide me not only in my life, but in my business life. And those lessons are fairly clear to me. Do I think I need to take a vow of poverty? I don't think so. If I'd done that, I would have been a Catholic priest. So no, I have never found a conflict in making money in my faith. I think the conflict would be if I made money and didn't use my money for what I've been taught to use my money for. What my goal is I don't live anywhere near what I make, except of my jet, and that is excess. But I don't live that way, and my goal now is that I think my children are set. I do not want to leave the government one penny. I think that, if you want to see your money wasted, give it to Congress. And what I want to do is I want to do as much as I can while I'm alive.
Very true.
And leave a huge amount of money into a foundation, and that will say in that foundation, faith without works is dead.
I personally work at my family's cafe, and I was wondering, how much do you normally tip customer service workers that are in serving positions?
$100. And I'll tell you why. We're a member of 3 different churches, and my wife gives away, I don't even know what she gives to these churches. But I am much more interested in leaving $100 tips for my servers and for the people who cut my hair than throwing $100 in the collection plate, because $100 to somebody can change their day. I got a case one time where a little boy was killed by a bus in Jacksonville. My investigator called me and said, I just think I'd tell you how we got this case. I said, how? He said, the woman met you once. I said, when did she meet me? 5 years ago. Where? It was Christmas Eve at Bob Evans. And I went there for breakfast with my daughter. And she told my investigator, and he left me a $100 tip. That's why she called me. So I don't know where your cafe is, but let me know and I'll come in and
Amazing.
leave you a $100 tip.
I'll definitely let you know. That's an amazing tip. Thank you, John.
Do you believe it's justifiable to be worth $1 billion while millions live in poverty?
No. If I could undo it all and let us all be the same, that's what I would do.
Okay, and do you believe, because I heard something about how you don't agree with the government spending, which I actually do agree with, so how would you split up the money?
The most to the most with the least. I believe that there are people that are, and I don't believe it, I know it. When you go out to the Morgan Hunger Relief Center, the people that are...
I mean, what he's saying is very interesting. I mean, like, he believes in capitalism, but yeah, he wants... It's kind of crazy because it's a different system. I don't know if somebody's able to point that out. If you want everybody to have equal pay, equal amount with you too, that's not capitalism. Does that make sense? It's not. But he believes in capitalism. It sounds good though. Sounds good.
Walking in there are not the homeless. They're walking in there dressed in work clothes with their children to get free food. And it's an abomination.
Yeah, because I go to the University of Florida because I remember you mentioning it. And one thing I've noticed as a college student is that there is a lot of corruption throughout it, from the president, even from student government, funneling millions. And then when I look into to see what happened to them, nothing really happened. They didn't go to jail or anything.
Look, the University of Florida, they hired this president who was just a buddy of the governor's, and he came up there and the University of Florida and took so much money, and he's still on the payroll, Ben Sass.
Yeah, that's what a lot of college students are talking about.
It's an outrage. And by the way, when you Google those articles, the alligator, I'm all over those all over those articles, ripping him a new.
So you just mentioned that everyone's a politician now, but you also said that you also have done at least 2 different things with legislation. So would you consider yourself to also be a politician?
Sorta. You know, everybody wants me to run for governor of Florida right now. When I'd go to the White House, they'd take me over the side and show me polling on me. And there's a side of me that thinks I could be good at it, but then there's a side of me that really enjoys living in Maui half the year. So I became sort of a politician because, listen.
Oh man, some of the people don't like that.
They were fighting me hard on the minimum wage. They were fighting me hard on medical marijuana. And I was out debating sheriffs, and everybody I was debating had a green suit on and a gun. So it's like, a little hard to debate them. So I was sort of a politician because I was in the political realm, and that's why all this talk about people wanting me to run for governor is percolating.
So today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. I think we all have experienced at some point in time that moment that you talked about as a kid, sitting there hoping and praying that somebody would help you. So I guess my question that you didn't really answer, you just told me how much you have. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now, that can't pay a bill, had to miss out on work? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off work today, and I'm struggling. I got bills, man. And I'm not begging for money, but I'm saying, what stops you from being able to go and help us and change our lives? Because...
Let me give you 100 while you're
I couldn't help it. Oh, talking about trolling. Oh boy, look. Like I said before, the guy is a lawyer. He does this for a living. Having a smart mouth. Oh man. Oh boy. Take it.
Thank you.
I want to say there's a couple things I would want to say. Don't get excited over that $100. Grab it, put it somewhere. Make sure you wake up in the morning, you see that 100. But you need to do better. I'm not saying like you don't, you're not working hard, but you can't have that mentality. You can't have that mentality. That is not a mentality that is acceptable right now in this economy. It's not. It's not. Okay? It's not. Don't take that $100 and go do something. No. Don't. Just put it on. Put it somewhere to where like, hey, remember that moment. Just remember that moment.
Don't buy marijuana.
No, I don't. I don't smoke. I
At the
don't
middle
drink.
school.
No, man.
Nothing stops me. Listen, here's how I look at it. I went to a religious retreat one time under duress. It was called a Crescio. And I thought it was going to be a bunch of bullshit, and it was basically a bunch of bullshit. But at the very end, it all came down to one thing that I took from that meeting. And here's what I took. I can't change the whole world. I would love to be able to. But the phrase that I took from that Crescio weekend was, bloom where you're planted. What does that mean? That means I can't solve hardly anything. But every once in a while, I'll get a God whisper, somebody asking. Then I think back to that Crescio, and it's like, bloom where you're planted. And I feel like at this moment, that's what I'm being asked to do. And I can only do so much. I'm trying to manage my money so that at the end of it all, it can have the greatest bang for its buck.
You know, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure if there's anything that would have been a perfect answer, just because he's really good at talking to you. He's a likable guy. And he's got
You finally starting to realize that. He's a really cool guy. Yeah, man.
he's soft in the eyes, so it's easy for him to get you on his side. So I don't know if there's anything he could have said that would have completely changed my mind. But I think showing your actions, he handed me $100, but there were people in the room had told their stories throughout the day. And with a wad of cash in your hand, you could shut me up, but he could have given it to everybody. He could have shown in that moment that he has the power to change your life, and he could try to change your life. Even if it's a small amount, it's better than nothing. And he didn't really do that.
Well, that's how you think. People think differently. Like, they might talk certain ways, but they think differently. Okay? Yeah, he had the money, but you have to remember, they don't, like, he don't own, like, no one, like, he have that money, but he doesn't have to give it out. Does that make sense? And that's where you have to change your mentality, that you don't have to receive money from people. You have to earn it, you know. And like I said before, you can't have that mindset. People got richer not because they give out. People got richer because they provide value, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping that you can change that and start thinking how to provide value to people. Because he's a billionaire for a reason. He's a billionaire for a reason.
One of the takeaways I took is there was a quiet desperation, a little bit of a worry about the future, and a little resentment about people who have money.
I think billionaires are inherently parasitical to society as a whole. No matter how they accumulated that wealth, they're always going to be profiting off of the backs of people who are doing the work. In his case, he's the better of.
I would say it depends. Okay, it's not all billionaires or all millionaires. It all depends. Okay, they have certain ones that are not even. They just, you know, and there's certain ones that are actually good, because it all depends. Money don't change people. Money reveal people, and not everybody is good, but not everybody is bad either. You know, so.
Evil system in general, while he is helping injured people get the settlement that they feel they deserve, he is still profiting off of advocating for that injury.
I'm of the volition that there's nothing wrong with billionaires. I'm a rabid capitalist, and I know John talked about that a lot, but that is who I am. That is my background. I think that if you have a financial wealth, yes, you should definitely do good things with it. You need to help the people around you. That's just moral code. But I don't believe that billionaires are inherently bad, or, you know, they're out to prove world domination or something of the sort like that.
I would say different. I would say differently. Like, there's some billionaires that are out there just want to, like I said, just want to more for them and less for everybody else. So you can't say, oh, there's some that are, I mean, there isn't any. That's naive to say the least. I'm not the person that, you know, hey, billionaires are bad, but I understand the nature of how they got there, you know. Some are bad, some are good, some got there legit, some didn't. But I'm not gonna be naive to where I'm saying all billionaires doesn't want world domination. That's just a naive thing to say. That's childish. Alright, we got this video at Jubilee, so I'm gonna put it down somewhere on the comment. Yeah, make sure you like this video, share it, and let me know in the comment. Let me know if you want a video like this, and I got you guys. Alright.